Illinois Real Estate Exam Listing Agreement Questions. Question 1. A managing broker supervising Riley discovers repeated advertising and trust-account mistakes. Which responsibility is most directly involved during Jordan's Chicago lakefront cottage file review? Option A. Supervision of sponsored licensees and brokerage compliance systems. Option B. Recording deeds for every buyer. Option C. Issuing building permits. Option D. Approving zoning variances. The correct answer is option A. Supervision of sponsored licensees and brokerage compliance systems. Managing and sponsoring brokers are responsible for supervision, training, and compliance controls for sponsored licensees. Recording deeds, issuing permits, and approving zoning variances are handled by other parties or government offices. Question 2. A study question asks whether an interest is life estate. What is the candidate being tested on during Casey's Springfield Suburban Ranch home file review? Option A. The amount of commission owed to the broker. Option B. The nature and duration of rights held in real property. Option C. The mortgage interest rate. Option D. The required size of a residential disclosure form. The correct answer is option B. The nature and duration of rights held in real property. Estates and land describe the nature and duration of property rights. Commission, loan interest rates, and disclosure minus form size are separate topics and do not define the estate itself. Question 3. A rental property has NOI of $35,000 and a value estimate of $490,000. Approximately what capitalization rate is indicated during Morgan's Peoria Commercial Suite file review? Option A, 3.6%. Option B, 10.1%. Option C, 7.1%. Option D, 14%. The correct answer is option C, 7.1%. The capitalization rate is NOI divided by value, so $35,000 divided by $490,000 is about 7.1%. The other answers have the rate, add unsupported points, or invert the formula.
Stressed about your AccuPlacer exam? We can take AccuPlacer exam for you remotely and undetected. We always guarantee a pass and payments only after results. To send us an email, scan the code or tap the link in the description and let's get it done.
Question 4. A brokerage wants to operate a virtual office location for Illinois consumers. Which compliance focus best fits the licensing outlined during Taylor's Naperville farm parcel file review? Option A. Avoiding all broker supervision because the office is online. Option B. Replacing written brokerage agreements with website clicks only. Option C. Advertising as an unlicensed technology company. Option D. Registration, supervision, and public-facing brokerage compliance for virtual or branch operations. The correct answer is option D. Registration, supervision, and public-facing brokerage compliance for virtual or branch operations. Virtual or branch operations still require appropriate brokerage supervision and compliance with licensing rules. Being online does not remove supervision, written-agreement, licensing, or advertising requirements. Question 5. A buyer wants to operate a retail shop in a residentially zoned property in Bloomington. Which issue should be investigated before closing during Riley's Rockford single-family home file review? Option A. Whether zoning permits the intended use or whether an approval such as a variance is needed. Option B. Whether the deed automatically changes zoning. Option C. Whether the broker can override the ordinance. Option D. Whether title insurance guarantees business income. The correct answer is option A. Whether zoning permits the intended use or whether an approval such as a variance is needed. Zoning controls land use, so the buyer's intended use must be permitted or approved through the proper local process. A deed, broker preference, or title insurance policy does not automatically change zoning or guarantee business income. Question 6. A buyer obtains a loan of $247,500 on a property appraised at $330,000. Approximately what is the loan minus-to-minus value ratio during Avery's Bloomington 2-flat building file review? Option A, 25%. Option B, 75%. Option C, 85%. Option D, 60%. The correct answer is option B, 75%. Loan minus to minus value is calculated by dividing the loan amount by the appraised value, $247,500 divided by $330,000, or about 75%. The other percentages confuse equity with LTV or use an incorrect numerator or denominator. Question 7. A licensee knowingly misrepresents a material fact to induce a buyer to sign. Which licensing consequence is most relevant during Cameron's Champagne condominium unit file review? Option A, automatic zoning approval. Option B, mandatory title insurance payout. Option C, disciplinary action for unprofessional or dishonest conduct. Option D, a tax prioration credit only. The correct answer is option C, disciplinary action for unprofessional or dishonest conduct. Knowing misrepresentation can trigger discipline because it harms consumers and violates professional standards. Zoning approval, title insurance payout, and tax prioration are unrelated remedies for this licensing misconduct. Question 8. A business offers to find apartments for renters in exchange for a fee. Why might Illinois licensing law be implicated during Drew's Joliet townhome file review? Option A, rental minus finding services are always exempt regardless of activity. Option B, only sellers can trigger licensing law. Option C, the service becomes legal if no written records are kept. Option D, rental minus finding services can involve regulated real estate activity when performed for compensation. The correct answer is option D. Rental minus finding services can involve regulated real estate activity when performed for compensation. Rental minus finding and leasing minus related services may be regulated when performed for compensation. The activity is not automatically exempt, licensing law is not limited to sales, and failing to keep records does not cure an unlicensed activity issue.
Are you looking for AccuPlacer exam actual questions? Visit our website pokerexams.com to access AccuPlacer exam study guide with actual questions and answers. Scan the QR code or click the link in the description to get AccuPlacer exam answer key today.
Question 9. A borrower pays 4 discount points on a $255,000 loan. How much do the points cost? Option A, $10,200. Option B, $5,100. Option C, $2,550. Option D, $11,200. The correct answer is option A, $10,200. 1 discount point equals 1% of the loan amount, so 4 points cost 4% of $255,000, or $10,200. The other figures use too few points, only 1 point, or add an unsupported amount. Question 10. A candidate is planning the broker exam schedule and wants to understand the Illinois minus specific portion. How is the state portion commonly structured in the current SCI bulletin during Parker's Evanston mixed minus use storefront file review? Option A, 100 questions with 150 minutes allowed and a 70% passing score. Option B, 40 questions with 90 minutes allowed and a 75% passing score. Option C, 50 questions with 120 minutes allowed and a 74% passing score. Option D, 90 questions with 150 minutes allowed and a 75% passing score. The correct answer is option B, 40 questions with 90 minutes allowed and a 75% passing score. The Illinois broker exam has a separate state portion listed as 40 scored points, 90 minutes, and a 75% passing score. The 100 minus question 150 minus minute format describes the national broker portion. The 50 minus question 120 minus minute option reflects residential leasing, and the 90 minus question format applies to a different examination category. Question 11. A licensee knowingly misrepresents a material fact to induce a buyer to sign. Which licensing consequence is most relevant during Reese's Oak Park vacant lot file review? Option A, automatic zoning approval. Option B, mandatory title insurance payout. Option C, disciplinary action for unprofessional or dishonest conduct. Option D, a tax prioration credit only. The correct answer is option C, disciplinary action for unprofessional or dishonest conduct. Knowing misrepresentation can trigger discipline because it harms consumers and violates professional standards. Zoning approval, title insurance payout, and tax prioration are unrelated remedies for this licensing misconduct. Question 12. Annual property taxes are $3,480, and the seller owes the buyer a credit for 89 days using a 365-day year. Approximately how large is the credit during Alex's Decatur rental duplex file review? Option A, $290. Option B, $10. Option C, $1,697. Option D, $849. The correct answer is option D, $849. Daily prioration divides $3,480 by 365 and multiplies by 89 days, giving about $849. The other choices use 1 month, 1 day only, or double the required prorated period. Question 13. Reese passed the Illinois broker examination but delayed the license application for more than a year. What is the likely exam-related consequence during Blair's Elgin Lakefront Cottage file review? Option A. The passing examination result may no longer be usable for licensure. Option B. The score remains valid permanently. Option C. The candidate becomes licensed automatically. Option D. Only a name-change form is required. The correct answer is option A. The passing examination result may no longer be usable for licensure. The SCI Bulletin states that candidates must apply for licensure within 1 year after passing the appropriate examination. A permanent score, automatic licensure, or a simple name-change form would not satisfy the application requirement after the score validity window has passed. Question 14. A commercial tenant pays base rent plus a share of property taxes, insurance, and maintenance. Which lease type is most likely being described during Quinn's normal suburban ranch home file review? Option A, gross lease. Option B, net lease. Option C, ground lease only. Option D, life estate. The correct answer is option B, net lease. A net lease shifts some or all operating expenses to the tenant in addition to base rent. A gross lease usually places expenses primarily on the landlord. A ground lease concerns land rental, and a life estate is an ownership interest rather than a lease-payment structure. Question 15. A listing closes at $160,000 with a brokerage fee of 5.5%. What total commission is generated before any split? Option A, $4,400. Option B, $10,400. Option C, $8,800. Option D, $1,600. The correct answer is option C, $8,800. Commission is calculated by multiplying the sale price by the commission rate. $160,000 times 5.5% equals $8,800. The distractors divide the commission, use the wrong percentage, or calculate only 1% of the price. Question 16. An owner personally advertises and negotiates the sale of the owner's own lakefront cottage. Why is this usually treated differently from brokerage for others during Logan's Galesburg Farm parcel file review? Option A. Every owner must hold a broker license before signing a deed. Option B. The owner is automatically sponsored by the buyer's broker. Option C. The owner may collect commissions from other sellers without a license. Option D. Owners may generally sell or lease their own property without acting as licensed brokers for the public. The correct answer is option D. Owners may generally sell or lease their own property without acting as licensed brokers for the public. Real estate license laws typically regulate brokerage services performed for others, especially for compensation. An owner selling the owner's own property is not thereby representing the public as a broker, while licensing would be required to collect commissions or broker transactions for other owners. Question 17. A settlement service provider offers a broker a hidden referral fee for steering buyers to that provider. Which federal concern is most likely during Kendall's Moline single-family home file review? Option A, RESPA restrictions on kickbacks and unearned fees. Option B, fixture classification. Option C, adverse possession. Option D, the rectangular survey system. The correct answer is option A. RESPA restrictions on kickbacks and unearned fees. RESPA addresses prohibited kickbacks and unearned fees involving settlement services, fixtures, adverse possession, and land survey systems are unrelated to hidden settlement minus service referral payments. Question 18. Sydney posts a social media ad for a listing near Evanston using only a personal phone number and no brokerage identification. Which issue is most likely raised by Illinois advertising rules during Harper's Quincy 2-flat building file review? Option A. A licensee may advertise without any broker identification online. Option B. Real estate advertising must identify the sponsoring brokerage in a compliant and not misleading way. Option C. Only print advertising must identify a broker. Option D. Brokerage identification is unnecessary if the property address appears. The correct answer is option B. Real estate advertising must identify the sponsoring brokerage in a compliant and not misleading way. Illinois advertising expectations focus on protecting the public from misleading ads and making the sponsoring brokerage clear. Online ads are still advertising, and the property address or a personal phone number does not replace proper broker identification. Stressed about your CNA exam? We can take CNA exam for you remotely and undetected. We always guarantee a pass and payments only after results. To send us an email, scan the code or tap the link in the description and let's get it done. Question 19. A buyer includes an inspection contingency in a purchase agreement. What is the main purpose of that clause during Jamie's Waukegan condominium unit file review? Option A. It automatically gives the broker ownership of the property. Option B. It removes the need for mutual assent. Option C. It gives the party a contractual condition that must be satisfied or waived under the agreement. Option D. It makes all deadlines meaningless. The correct answer is option C. It gives the party a contractual condition that must be satisfied or waived under the agreement. A contingency creates a condition that can affect whether the parties must proceed or may terminate under stated terms. It does not transfer ownership to the broker, replace mutual assent, or eliminate all contractual deadlines. Question 20. A listing broker learns of an active termite condition before a buyer submits an offer. How should the issue generally be treated in an Illinois exam scenario during Rowan's Belleville townhome file review? Option A. It may be hidden if the seller requests silence. Option B. It is never relevant once the property is listed as minus is. Option C. It must be disclosed only after the buyer obtains a loan. Option D. A known material fact should be disclosed rather than concealed. The correct answer is option D. A known material fact should be disclosed rather than concealed. Known material facts can affect a buyer's decision and should not be concealed. A seller's request, and as minus is label, or the timing of financing does not eliminate the broker's duty to avoid misrepresentation and disclose material information. Question 21. A contract identifies land using a recorded plat description. Why are legal descriptions tested separately from street addresses during Jordan's Chicago small apartment building file review? Option A. A legal description is intended to identify the parcel with greater legal precision than a mailing address. Option B. Street addresses are always more legally precise. Option C. Legal descriptions are used only for personal property. Option D. A legal description replaces the need for a seller's signature. The correct answer is option A. A legal description is intended to identify the parcel with greater legal precision than a mailing address. Legal descriptions identify the land for conveyance and title purposes, while street addresses are often practical but less precise. They apply to real property, not personal property, and they do not replace signature and contract requirements. Question 22. A residential seller in Illinois knows about past foundation movement but leaves the disclosure report blank. What concept is most directly tested during Casey's Springfield mixed-use storefront file review? Option A. The buyer's duty to ignore all seller statements. Option B. The seller's disclosure obligations for known material defects. Option C. The lender's exclusive duty to inspect the property. Option D. The appraiser's authority to waive statutory disclosures. The correct answer is option B. The seller's disclosure obligations for known material defects. Illinois residential disclosure rules focus on the seller's disclosure of known material defects. Buyers still may inspect, but that does not make seller disclosure meaningless. Lenders and appraisers do not waive statutory disclosure duties. Question 23. A tenant with a disability requests a reasonable accommodation to use the rental property. How should the property manager analyze the request during Morgan's Peoria vacant lot file review? Option A. Deny every accommodation to keep rules identical. Option B. Approve only accommodations requested by owners. Option C. Evaluate whether the request is reasonable and necessary for equal use and enjoyment of the housing. Option D. Treat the request as an automatic eviction notice. The correct answer is option C. Evaluate whether the request is reasonable and necessary for equal use and enjoyment of the housing. Fair housing analysis considers whether an accommodation is reasonable and related to the tenant's disability minus related needs. Blanket denial, owner minus only approval standards, or treating the request as eviction would conflict with the purpose of accommodation rules. Question 24. Avery receives $3,500 in earnest money and places it in a personal checking account for convenience. Which trust minus account problem is illustrated during Taylor's Naperville rental duplex file review? Option A. A lawful automatic conversion of escrow funds into commission. Option B. A required method for handling every earnest money deposit. Option C. A title defect that is cured by recording a deed. Option D. Commingling client funds with personal funds. The correct answer is option D. Commingling client funds with personal funds. Client or customer funds such as earnest money must be handled through the appropriate special or trust account process. Putting the money into a personal checking account is commingling. It is not automatic commission, not the required method, and not a title minus recording issue. Question 25. Quinn is comparing loan terms and closing disclosures. Which federal lending framework is commonly tested with residential mortgage transactions during Riley's Rockford Lakefront Cottage file review? Option A. TRID and related TILA-RESPA disclosure rules. Option B. The statute of descent and distribution. Option C. The rule against perpetuities only. Option D. A zoning variance issued by the City Council. The correct answer is option A. TRID and related TILA-RESPA disclosure rules. Residential mortgage questions often test TILA, RESPA, and integrated TRID disclosures that help borrowers compare costs and terms. The other choices deal with inheritance, property-law doctrines, or land-use approvals rather than consumer mortgage disclosure.